Well, there's a major heat wave that is coming into the United States in various regions, and we wanted to take a quick deep dive into what exactly is happening. I've invited our friend Morgan Harvey from Amperon, and of course my colleagues Chris Hyde and Keith Cavey to join us. Chris, let's talk first about this upcoming heat wave. What are some of the most important signals that you're seeing in the models?
Yeah, an upper level ridge of high pressure is building across the south into parts of, say, MISO, PJM as well. So there's going to be a bit of a temporary spike. The hottest temperatures of the season for areas of PJM and parts of MISO in particular will be this week. And then as time goes on, that area of high pressure combined with the southerly winds causing humidity to be on the rise, it'll get suppressed a little bit. ERCOT, for the most part, has had a fairly quiet summer. They'll have a spike this week as well. However, they'll have more of a prolonged stretch of heat as we get into next week with things evolving that direction for them.
Keith, you're a meteorologist as well. What are we looking at for these different areas?
The weather pattern that's setting up, we refer to it as a blocking ridge of high pressure. So really, everywhere in the U.S. east of the Rockies over the next couple of weeks is going to have some risk of extreme heat. That combined with the growing season that's taking place, the corn crop has been growing rapidly in much of the Midwest. And you may have heard the term corn sweat going around. This is literally the evapotranspiration, the humidity that's being increased in the air because of corn and other crops that have been growing and are putting more moisture, more humidity in the air. So that's going to combine with this ridge of high pressure and the heat to lead to, in some cases, extreme heat danger for some folks. And some of the regions that Chris talked about really can affect just about anywhere east of the Rockies. The West is kind of spared from a lot of this, but from the upper Midwest down to the Mid-South, the Northeast, all will experience some of the effects of this heat wave over the next couple of weeks.
Morgan, have you heard of corn sweat before?
Someone just brought this up to me yesterday.
Let's switch over to you a little bit here. Now, when you look at this forecast, what are some of the red flags you're seeing and some of the grid risk that might come from this, and maybe even some of the market behavior that you can expect to see?
Yeah, I mean, whenever there's a heat wave that comes, everyone's definitely on high alert. You're going to see different behaviors depending on different markets. I think one thing Chris mentioned in ERCOT, it has been very quiet this year, which is actually very strange. Usually that's where the most volatility happens. But one of the reasons we've seen less volatility is more just demand response activity happening. So even though it's been a mild summer, just see more people be able to curtail their load to just avoid some of these CP or high comes to peak days, just avoid costs down the line. So next week will be that first test to see how things go when heat increases a little bit more in ERCOT. But if the same demand response happens, we could still see less volatility than in years past.
Okay, so how sensitive is the electricity demand?
Yeah, I mean, weather is one of the biggest drivers into demand forecasts. The problem that arises is when, forecast changes at last minute. It's either hotter or colder than was predicted, or you see less wind or less solar. That's when you really see things get dicey. You're going to see prices spike, you're going to see people scrambling. So as long as you have good weather forecasts, that's really going to dictate a lot of what the good demand forecasts are going to be.
I think the decent example appetizer for this upcoming event, whether it's here in the short term or more extended into ERCOT, is what happened in PJM in the Northeast late June with the intense heat there. That was many lessons learned. So I think taking those lessons learned from there and be prepared for the events that will transpire the balance of this week into next week, or even fairly into next month in August, are good things to consider.